We can already hear the Bad Boys theme soundtrack ringing in our ears whenever the two words are put together, right? A fourth movie is already in development, and we're here to take a first look into things, when the movie might come out, which side Armando will probably take, but also, what is this new specialized unit that will collide with our bad boys on their next criminal organization hunt? The first two movies from the Bad Boys franchise brought us the perfect action comedy, with the first movie also being the debut of the bombastic style of the man himself, Michael Bay, because it is always a good thing to have more explosions than needed, right? The franchise was also somewhat a stepping stone for the future stars, in the likes of Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, starring as Miami police detectives Marcus Burnett and Mike Lowrey, respectively. At the time, Lawrence was somewhat of a star due to the success of his Fox sitcom Martin, a series that ran for 5 seasons from 1992 to 1997. Will Smith, on the other hand, was at the prime of his career up until that time, and when the two were put together, we got a glimpse at just what it looks like to have the perfect comedic chemistry between a pair, which skyrocketed the entire franchise and moved it away from being just another buddy cop movie. By the time the second movie arrived 8 years later, it could be seen that Lawrence's career started to fall just a bit, while Smith's career rocketed way up. The difference was notable, but it didn't stop for the sequel to repeat the formula from the first movie. This time around, the second movie had the luxury of Michael Bay's other projects, the Transformers franchise movies also being a success, which in and of itself brought an even more audience to the movie, a chain of events which would eventually lead to a third installment being greenlit. Many expected the third movie to come around much faster than the time between the first two, but the exact opposite happened. Despite the willingness of all parties involved, the third movie failed to materialize up until 2020, when we got Bad Boys for Life, a movie which, to be honest, came very later than expected, with a different crew behind it. This time around, helmed by up-and-coming directors in the likes of Adil Bilall and Bilal Fallah. The third sequel saw Mike Lowrey and Marcus Burnett dive into yet another crazy adventure, one made for us to say the least. Bringing the two back together after Burnett already retired from the cop stuff was a nefarious criminal organization which started to develop in their hometown of Miami, a good enough reason for the two to get in their gear once again and save their city and their loved ones in it. The third movie, despite releasing almost a full 17 years after the second, was accepted very well by critics and fans alike, a state for the franchise that posed the question, is there going to be a fourth installment? And we're here to tell you that, as it turns out, a fourth movie is already in development, according to The Hollywood Reporter, with both Joe Carnahan and Peter Craig making their return to pen the script for the upcoming sequel. Unfortunately, there is no news on whether LRB and Fallah will be returning, but we assume that will be the case. When you look at the big picture and the success they had, it's simply a no-brainer. And with that in mind, even though the movie is in the early stages of development, it is not too early to dig in and tell you everything we know by now, right? Knowing that most of the variables are not known, outside of the two main characters of the franchise being confirmed, it is still too early to tell even the time frame of when the movie Bad Boys for Life 2 might release, especially knowing the timetables for the previous 3 movies being in a pattern of their own, an unpredictable one to say the least. A big problem for the movie would be Will Smith's availability, which was also a factor in the delay of the third movie as well. His timetable has been somewhat of a mess ever since the pandemic released the movie industry out of its grasp, with him currently working on the projects, including the likes of King Richard, a biopic centered on Richard Williams, the father of tennis legends Venus and Serena, the historical drama The Council, in which he'll star as notorious Harlem gangster Nicky Barnes. A sequel of 2017's Netflix movie Bright is also in development, so he will most likely be part of that project as well, knowing that he was in the lead role in the first movie too. So, all things considered, if everything goes to plan and in quick motion, we should be expecting the fourth installment by the end of 2023. This is just our educated guess though, so don't take our word for it just yet, but keep things in mind and always be on the lookout for any new details coming your way. As we said before, it has been confirmed that Will Smith and Martin Lawrence will be reprising their roles as Marcus Burnett and Mike Lowrey. However, the rest of the cast is a big question mark. A good guess is that Paula Nunez will return as Rita, the fellow officer of the two, particularly after the last movie's conclusion, seeing her get promoted to the rank of captain, and the previous boss, Captain Howard, played by Joe Pantoliano, being assassinated during the events of the movie sets her up pretty good. After all, Lowrey and Burnett will have to have someone to bust them whenever they go outside the lines. The third installment's mid-credit scene teases that Jacob Scipio's Armando may have a role to play in the upcoming movie, who, after spending the entire third movie attempting to assassinate Lowrey, his biological father, will now probably be on the other side of the coin. Sure, he killed a bunch of people and is now in prison, but he will probably get released somehow, maybe as part of an investigation, and him playing a big part in going undercover and meeting with his former cartel buddies. Who knows? Sadly, this is everything we know about the cast side of things, but there should be more and more actors taking part in the movie as time goes by. There are not a lot of details given to us about the fourth movie, but if we go by what was happening in the latest movie, we should expect a lot of the plot to be centered on Armando and his connections he made before being put in prison. He was raised by a wife of a ruthless drug lord, making him the most successful Mexican assassin. So with that status, he must have quite an information on all sorts of international criminals' enterprises. So we are guessing that the duology of Mike and Marcus will continue on and see them deal with some shady new organization, one with which Armando has a degree of familiarity. Another clue was circulating around the internet, which was connected to 2015's announcement by IMDb that contained the brief synopsis of a new, modern, specialized police unit colliding with the bad boys when a new threat emerges in Miami. However, this synopsis was quickly deleted, and the entire thing went to the tag of plot unknown shortly after. So, we are in the dark as to what the exact plot of the fourth movie will be. But we have two possibilities which could turn out to be both true, but in a different setting. On a related note, tell us down in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on the franchise so far? And if you had to have a say in things, which direction would you like to see the fourth installment go in? And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.